on, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live. Right now. Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope Soul Sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, Brooklyn. All my people, you rocking with the chat. Hit that. That like button would tell me where you at. You know, Step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady, where she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
What?
Dope Soul.
What?
Your soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Salute, Knick family. Welcome to the channel, Dope Soul Sports Talk, Dope Soul Knicks Talk, a member of the NBK family. Welcome to the Knicks Morning Vibe, the last morning show of this season. Obviously, we know by now the Knicks lost in Game 6 to Miami. I believe it was 92-96. A tough loss, you know, a very winnable game. In my opinion, I don't think we got the shooting I know we didn't get the shooting we needed to get. We'll talk about that later. I thought there was at least one, if not more, questionable moves by Tom Thibodeau. We'll talk about that as well. We'll also talk about the season overall and what I think the Knicks should do next. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Let me give a quick shout out. Jeff Clafter, Tim Smith, Knicks are Nice, who I believe is Pudge Nice. Wonder Woman, appreciate you. Ajay, salute. JJ, Dale Sinclair. Shout out to everybody that's going to join later and, you know, the replay game. You know, I appreciate you all. But let's get right into this. Was Miami really the better team? Before I answer that question, I just want to give my thoughts on last night's game. Number one, I know we found one in Jalen Brunson, and we'll talk about that. But as far as the game was concerned, I thought in Game 5, the Knicks seemed to me not necessarily to figure out Miami, but I felt after that game that they had a good sense that they can beat this team. I'm not sure if they thought that in games 1 through 4, but in Game 5, when they won it with Jimmy Butler on the floor, I think they kind of figured out or felt, you know, we can beat this team. The problem was that the margins were very slim. They had to win 3 straight games. They couldn't make any mistakes. And, you know, they just weren't able to do it in Miami. I mean, the shooting, Miami did what they always do. They packed it in the key. You know, I was trying to find some thumbnail clips of Brunson. And every clip I saw of Brunson, I Googled Brunson versus Miami in the NBA playoffs. Every clip of Brunson was 2 or 3 Miami players around him. You know, they really packed it in the key. They packed it in, you know, sometimes for Randall, but I think they felt that Bam could handle Randall by himself. But they did have players in the key behind Bam. And the only way to loosen that up is to shoot the basketball. Not shoot it, obviously shoot it, but to make shots. RJ Barrett, as well as he's played for us in the playoffs, 1 for 10 last night. He shot 10%. Randall, 3 for 14. He shot 21%. Grimes, 1 for 6. He shot 17%. You know, you got it. In the biggest games is where you really want to have your best performances. And the Knicks just didn't have it. Thibodeau, I can't get off of this point. And I know many of you will say, Steph, come on, this happened in the beginning of the second quarter. The Knicks had ample opportunities after that to win the game, and they did. But I wanted to know, what the hell was Tom Thibodeau thinking, taking Brunson out of the game and Randall at the same time and putting in this a second unit? Like, I haven't seen that since like February or something like that, where we just ran the second unit with RJ. Like, what are we doing? Like, have we run that this series? I don't think so. This is the game 6, where you're going to take Brunson and Randall out and run the second unit with RJ Barrett. And I get it. Maybe you were trying and we were up, I don't know, 8, 10. I'm not sure. I don't quite remember what it was. And maybe you were trying to steal some rest for Brunson. Okay, take Brunson out. Both Brunson and Randall. And when you take them out, once they score a basket or two or any combination, 2 turnovers, 2 basket or a basket and a turnover, they coming back in the game. You know, and I get it. Some of you could say, come on, Steph, he can't take the guy out? No, not in an elimination game. No. He played 48 minutes in game 5. You're going to have to go another 48 minutes in game 6. It may not be fair, but you got, and look, he got a lot of time to rest right now. You know, and the Knicks just collapsed without Brunson on the floor. And Randall. Randall was out as well. But Randall was already on the bench. Took Brunson out, and the team just collapsed. Miami went on an 8-0 run. They went to a zone because there were no shooters in that game. You got McBride, you got Hart, you got RJ Barrett, you got Mitchell Robinson, and Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin is probably the only one out of that bunch that can get you a 3. And he's been up and down, right? RJ Barrett has been up and down. Like, that was the bam, bam unit right there. I don't get it. Now, I'm not saying, I just feel like you got your feet on the head of the snake, keep it there. Now, Miami is an experienced team. Would they have fought their way back into the game? Hell yeah. Yeah, I think they would have. But let them fight their way back into the game. Don't give it to them because you're not hitting shots and you're turning the ball over and you got your 2 best players on the bench. I did not understand that at all. That being said, there were ample opportunities after that for the Knicks to win the game. And the difference, Miami didn't shoot well in this game. The Knicks didn't shoot well in this game. But Miami got the timely shots. And the Knicks didn't. The Knicks did not get the timely shots. I'm not even going over the stats. I looked at the box score. I looked at second chance points. Miami, the Knicks only had 20 points in the paint, I should say. Second chance points, relatively even. Fast break points, relatively even. This was an in the mud type of game. I thought the officiating was fair, and you can even say that the Knicks got favorable calls. You know, I don't think so. I think, you know, I'm sure Miami would complain that they kept calling a foul on Brunson every time he went in the key, but they were late with that. That was happening the entire game. That was happening the entire season. Right? So I don't think it was an official. I don't think you can blame the officials for this game. The Knicks just took the worst time to shoot the worst. And that's just the bottom line. Back to, you know, whether or not Miami is the better team. Yeah, they were the better team. You can argue that the Knicks were the more talented team. You can argue on paper the Knicks have, you know, the better players. But there's a difference between having the most talented players and getting the most out of those talented players. And the Knicks didn't do that. You know, the Knicks didn't do that. They were more experienced. I'm talking about Miami. They were more physical at times. They were willing to do whatever it took to win a game and to win a series. And at the end of the day, they made more big shots and more timely shots than the Knicks did. And that's just the bottom line. Could we have won? Yeah. But like I said before this series started, the Knicks have the better team on paper, but to beat Miami, everybody is going to have to show up in this series. And they just didn't. they just didn't. So yeah, I think they were the better team. I think they had the better coach. I think they had the better coach. But I will say this. Just because another coach is better doesn't mean your coach is not good. Tibbs was good enough to win this series. If Randall shows up big in this series, if IQ shows up big in this series prior to getting hurt and doesn't, if he doesn't get hurt and shows up big, if we get the shots that we needed, we're in the Eastern Conference Finals, and we're having a totally different conversation about Thibodeau. Right? Was he perfect? Nah, he was not. There's some things I would have liked to have seen Tibbs do. But the players didn't show up either, not on a consistent basis. And the shooting, we weren't a great shooting team. Our shooting abandoned us in this series, except for a few games, right? So there's enough blame. If you're playing the blame game, there's enough blame to go around. But this is what I will say. Brunson was the best player for the Knicks in this series. And I know there was some in the chat who feel he was the best player in the series. And he's the best player on this team. Period, point blank. And there is nothing anybody can tell me that will make me feel otherwise. Period. He carried this team. He showed up every single game. He got loads of attention from Coach Spoelstra and the players, and he still came through for us. 38 points in Game 5, 41 points last night. And in Game 4, I think he had 9 assists. Game 5, he had 11 assists. You can't get assists when players are shooting. Like people can say, oh, well, he only had 3 assists last night. Okay, well, RJ Barrett was 1 for 10. Randall was 2 for 14. Grimes was 1 for 6. You knock down some of those shots, there's more assists for Brunson. He's dependable. You can lock him in. Everybody has a bad game every now and again. It will happen. It didn't happen in this series, but it can happen. I don't want to hear about how he can't play defense. I don't want to hear it. The Knicks need to get better defenders around him. You got to construct your roster in a certain way. We'll talk about that later on. And I feel it's obligatory for me to say that I'm not taking anything away from Julius Randle. When I say KD, when he was in Brooklyn, was the best player on that team, I'm not taking anything away from Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is great in his own right. When I say LeBron James is the best player on the Lakers, I'm not taking anything away from AD. AD is a good player in his own right. So to say Jalen Brunson is the best player on his team, I'm not taking anything away from Julius Randle. Right? He's just the best player on his team. People could talk about talent. Yeah, I think Julius is the more talented player. I think if we were getting 100% of Julius every night, he wouldn't just be the best player on the Knicks. He would be one of the best players in the entire league. When Julius Randle have those stretches in which he's dominating offensively, he's engaged defensively, and he's dominating the boards, he's not just the best player on the Knicks. He's the best player in the league. But the fact of the matter is he does not play like that game in and game out. So I'd rather get 100% of a less talented player than 50, 60, 75% of a more talented player. And that's just the bottom line. I'm not parsing my words anymore when it comes to Julius Randle and the Julius Randle fans. I'm a Julius Randle supporter. But I've seen enough to know that Jalen Brunson is the best player on this team. And I need Randle to step it up. I don't want to hear about how he was double teamed. He wasn't the only one. I don't want it. First of all, I don't even think he was as double teamed as Brunson. Bam played him straight up. And it's about your floor game. Look at RJ Barrett. I'm not talking about game 6, your floor game. RJ Barrett's floor game has been on point. All right. So you're not making the basket. You're passing the ball around. You're doing the other things. You're crashing the boards. Listen. And we'll talk about this later. I don't want Julius Randle traded. I don't. But I'm just calling a spade a spade. Brunson is the best player on this team. You could point to two-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA. All right, the NBA is behind the curve when it comes to Jalen Brunson. I think they up on it. I think they're up on it now. The Knicks have at least one player they can count on in the playoffs, and we need another one. Will Randall become that? Will RJ Barrett become that? We shall see. All right, let me check in with the chat before I get into my next segment. Was this a successful season or a missed opportunity? Spoiler alert, it's both. But let me check in with the chat before I get with that. I appreciate you guys rocking with me this morning. Listen, when the Knicks lose like this, I feel like I need a few days to get myself together. So it was kind of hard to just kind of get up, pull myself up off the mat, and come in and do the show. So I appreciate everybody that's with me today. G Money, it was a great season, and we should keep our heads high. I agree with you. Deron Wayne, 200%. No doubt about it. Okay. Shaw Legacy, I'm grateful for this season. Our team is on the right track. Yes, they are. Ajay Brunson played like an all-NBA player all season long. I agree. D977, Randall is a regular season guy. Dale Sinclair, no one came to work except Brunson, particularly in this game. I just wanted to see a bit more in this game. And all of that being said, the poor shooting being said, it was 90, 92, 96. The Knicks had every opportunity to get back in this game. JJ need better defenders and better shooters around Brunson. Totally agree. One of the segments I'm going to talk about a little later is what else do the Knicks need, or what's next for the Knicks? And JJ, that's it. Better defenders, better shooters. And can I add something else, JJ? Better ball handlers. You got to have better ball handlers around Jalen Brunson. He shouldn't be the only one that can bring the ball up the court. Soon as he went out, the Knicks just gave the ball up. I just don't understand it. Just don't understand it. Jeff Clafter, appreciate you. Brunson is the cornerstone. JJ Spolstra gave Brunson a ton of credit in post-game last night. Real nice comments. I did read that. I haven't really looked at the press conference. When you get punched in the stomach, you got to take a little time. So I'll go over that today. Ashley Inc. 1, Wiz West Coast, appreciate you. If Randall, RJ, and Grimes even shot 30% from the field, we would have won last night, because that's what we got in Game 5. The difference between Game 5 and Game 6 is that we made our shots. It was a nip and tuck game as well. Remember, Miami brought it within, 2, 3, 4, a few times during that game. We would respond with a shot. Didn't happen for us last night. And I'm not throwing Thibodeau any bail. I'm just saying if we knock down our shots, we're in the Eastern Conference Finals. Saying that, Art Man, that's where the adjustments come in. You telling me D Rose wouldn't have given us better minutes than McBride did in the second? I think D Rose is shot. I think when we think about D Rose, we think about the D Rose that we saw 2 years ago. But I saw D Rose walking into the arena, and he was limping. He wasn't limping, but he had that little dip like an old man. Now, I don't know if that was just his G Money walk, but he looked like he had a little dip on him. I don't know. He didn't look like he was walking right. I'm not sure. Sure, Miami was stacking the box because we can't shoot. Bingo, bango, sure. And to me, that was the key to the series. They're going to stack it in the box, and they're going to tell you, you want your points in the paint, you're not getting them. You want your second chance points, maybe, maybe not. If you want to win this series, you're going to have to make your jump shots. In the days when the Knicks did, they won. In the games when they didn't, they lost. Except for Game 4. I thought the Knicks shot well. They didn't get enough volume, but I thought the Knicks shot well in Game 4, and we still lost. JJ, we're more talented, but Miami is a better team. They play more like a team than we do. That's a good point as well. And they got Jimmy Butler, I don't think has won a championship, but he's gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals multiple times. Love has a championship. Not Tyler Hero. Lowry has a championship. Those things make a difference. Now, you can argue that we're on our path. I said this in another show. Cleveland took their lumps this season. Memphis going up against, the Lakers, a Grizzly experienced team lost. Sacramento going against Golden State, an experienced team lost. And you can argue that that's the same thing that happened with the Knicks. And it was. I just felt a few more shots, just a few more shots. And even though they were more experienced, we could have got to the Eastern Conference final. But it is what it is. Sherwin again, Miami was forcing the Knicks to take jump shots we can't shoot. And that's been our problem all year. We were fourth in offensive rating, but it wasn't because of our shooting. I think we were 20th in field goal percentage, 19th in three-point percentage, 22nd in free throw percentage, but we got the volume. We got those field goal attempts up. We got those three-point attempts up. We were, I want to say, top 10 in the league in getting to the free throw line. So the volume really helped us. The second chance points really helped us as well. Saying the Art Man, thank you. Appreciate the super chat. Brunson made more shots than the entire team. If Randall goes 4 of 14, RJ 2 of 10, this game is tied or we're up based off the type of shot. Grimes also went 1 of 6. The W was there. JB showed up. The W was there. I wonder down the stretch if the Knicks were a little shook. Like Grimes hit an air ball. I don't know if that was the play. I don't know if they Thibodeau drew that play up for Grimes to get the shot off the baseline, or were they just reading the play and that was the option that wasn't covered? It would be interesting to know. He shot an air ball. RJ Barrett went to the I don't know if it was a floater or a layup attempt, an air ball. I wonder if the Knicks were pressing. I say all of that to say, I wonder if they were pressing down the stretch. The season was hung in the balance, and I wonder if they were pressing, because those two shots particularly, I just couldn't understand it. And there was a few times when Grimes just picked up his dribble. Like you have to keep your dribble until you're ready to pass. You don't pick it up and now you're looking. So I don't know, maybe he didn't feel comfortable handling the ball. We also lost because Obi went 2 of 5 from 3. That was good. Why did we lose? Because he went 2 of 5 for 3. Matter of fact, I thought when he hit those 2 threes in a row, he should have stayed in there. Now, I haven't looked at the game over, and I don't know if I will. Obi's been making some rotation mistakes, and so that may have been why he came out of the game. But he hit 2 straight 3-pointers. I would have liked to have seen him stay in, provided he was doing what he needed to do on the defensive end. Kerry Cox, appreciate you. We were outplayed and outcoached. No doubt about it. And outshot. Sherwin, Steph, we lost because we can't shoot, not because of anything Tibbs did. Yeah, I think was Tibbs perfect? He was not. But he was good enough to win this game if we hit a few more shots. You don't have to be the best coach in the series, but are you good enough? Right? When the Giants played the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, was Eli Manning better than Tom Brady? No, but he was good enough, right? With the rest that he got for the Giants to win. Thibodeau was good enough. He was good enough, I should say. But you got to get shots, no doubt about it. Pamela Willis, listen on Facebook. I appreciate you, sis. We lost just like Atlanta playoff. Obviously this team was better, than the team that played in the Atlanta series. But I mean, if you want to say it came down to perimeter shooting then as well, yeah, I would have to agree. Make or miss league, I agree with that as well. Sandy Artman, shots that were falling in the regular season, Hart's 3, Grimes efficiency, quickly going nuts all over the court, just wasn't just wasn't going for us. Yeah, is no no doubt about it. Diva Locks 21. I hope I got that right. I don't understand why Tibbs didn't play Fournier. That's a potential 12 to 15 point difference. I mean, I would have played him. I would have gave him some looks. I know some people are saying, "Oh my God, defensively," but I don't know. I might have gave it a look. I might have gave it a look. Randall was making rotation mistakes all game and all series. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Yeah. Charles Turner III, the difference between us and the Heat, veteran leadership on the court. Yeah. No doubt about it. All right. Successful season or missed opportunity? Both. I think the Knicks exceeded expectations. 47 wins, the fifth seed. We weren't in the play-in. We earned that fifth seed in the Eastern Conference. We beat Cleveland, even though they had home court advantage. We won a closeout game, an elimination game in Cleveland. One of the hardest things to do. Miami wanted to close out against us in game 5, and it didn't happen. And that shows you a lot of something about the team, but it's a lot to ask a team to win 3 games in a row. The Knicks put themselves behind the 8 ball with that. Our players got valuable experience. They'll be better next year. So we exceeded expectations, but I still think it was a lost opportunity. I still think a few more made shots, a few more hustle plays here and there, a few more players showing up bigger than they have, this team goes to the Eastern Conference Finals, right? So it was both a successful season and a missed opportunity. And I read this on Twitter, and I talked about this last night on the MBK postgame show. I don't know if it was somebody from Twitter or somebody in the comments, the replay gang under the video, said, we keep talking about this is just part of the process, and next season we'll go a little further like it's going to be linear. But he brought up that there have been teams that didn't take advantage of an opportunity, didn't take advantage of a window, and never got back. They took steps back. And I think about Atlanta when they went to the Eastern Conference. Where are they now? I think about Toronto last year when they finished 4th or 5th. Where did they finish this season? So I say all of that to say there's no guarantees. I'm hopeful that the Knicks will get better next season, whether they bring in a few other pieces, whether it's internal growth, we'll talk about that, or internal growth. I'm hopeful that the Knicks championship contending window has opened and that the Knicks will continue on this championship contending trajectory. But there are no guarantees. There's no guarantees. You got to take advantage of the opportunities you get. And I think the players and even the fans now, because the Knicks made it to the second round. They played 6 games into the second round, which is a feat for the Knicks and for this organization. Kudos to them, the coach, the front office. But even as us fans, for those who didn't understand the difference between the regular season and the playoffs, I think we all have a better understanding that the playoffs is just a different animal. And just because somebody played well in the regular season doesn't mean they're going to play well in the playoffs. And just because somebody did not play well in the regular season, aka RJ Barrett, does not mean they will not play well and contribute in the playoffs, which RJ Barrett did. It's a different animal, right? The opposing team gets the key on you game in and game out. It's not just maybe your top 1 or 2 players, at the top of the board when the opposing coach is scheming. It's probably the whole team that's on the board. Maybe in the regular season, they're scheming against Brunson and they're scheming against Randall, and they're just saying, oh, you got to watch out for Toppin, he likes to leak out, or you got to watch out for Quickly when he comes. There's none of that in the playoffs. They're game planning for even a Quickly or even a Obi Toppin in the sense of taking away transition points It's a different ball game, and our players, they got an opportunity to see it and to feel it, right? All right. Let me go through this last segment and then I'll get back. I'll get back to the chat and I'll spend extended time in the chat. If you guys have questions, or what have you, throw it in there. All right. What's next for this team? Right. So let's start with some housekeeping. IQ, Emmanuel Quickly, is eligible to be extended this summer. And I would extend him. Let me know if you agree with me or not in the chat. I would extend Quickly. I don't know what the Knicks were thinking of paying him, but I think they have a bit more leverage now. I would take a little chunk out of whatever they were thinking about paying him. He wasn't ready. He just was not ready. And there's no shame in it, right? This is his first time in the playoffs in this role where we were really counting on him, right? So he wasn't ready. It happens. Like I said, it takes guys a few years, sometimes a few games, a few series. We see how Grimes seemed to have come along, at least in game 5. He had a tremendous game. He felt more comfortable. Sometimes it takes games to get comfortable. Sometimes it takes years to get comfortable. I think if the Knicks didn't make the playoffs, Quickly would have came into a lot of money, right? Because we wouldn't have seen this. He would have came into a lot of money. But I think he'll rebound from this. I think he'll be better in the regular season. I think he'll be better in the playoffs. And I just want to say this, and this is just me. This is just me. When players don't play well in the playoffs, I don't give a damn what they do in the following regular season. I don't care. I'm waiting until the next postseason to see what you do. And that goes for Randall, that goes for IQ, that goes for Grimes. I don't care what they do in the regular season. I want to see what you do in the playoffs. That's where I am. The other thing I'll say about IQ is you can't rule out trading him for another wing player. You can't rule that out, particularly if he wants more money than the Knicks are offering, right? You can't rule it out, but I would offer IQ an extension this summer. I would also extend Hart. Now, Hart is a role player. He's not a starter. He's a role player. He did not have a good series against Miami. Now, we learned yesterday that twins, his wife gave birth to twins. I don't know if he was distracted. Maybe he wasn't as focused. Maybe. But this wasn't the Josh Hart we're used to seeing, I should say. Did Miami take him out of the game? Perhaps they did. I did think the officials took him out of the game, but maybe when I saw the silly fouls he was getting in last game, game 6, maybe it wasn't the officials taking him out of the game. Maybe it was him making stupid fouls, except for that foul they called on Jimmy Butler when he kicked his leg out. I'm not sure what the Knicks were going to pay him either, but I think the Knicks can also get a more favorable contract from Josh Hart as well. He was phenomenal in the Cleveland series, and he was a big part of why we won that series. But he was not great in this series against Miami. He just wasn't. In terms of what we need going forward, we need to address the shooting guard and small forward position. That's just my opinion. We need to address those two positions. We need dependable perimeter shooters at the shooting guard and the small forward position. And I don't know how the Knicks do it. I'm not advocating trading Grimes. I'm not advocating trading RJ Barrett. I thought RJ Barrett played extremely well, except for game 6 in the playoffs for us. I think his floor game has come around. He's making the right decisions with the ball. He knows what he's doing out there. I didn't see a lot of defensive lapses out there. I thought he played well. But The three things I think the Knicks need, we just don't have at the shooting guard and small forward position. And that is, in no particular order, perimeter shooting, perimeter defense, and ball handling. Now, Grimes will give you the perimeter defense, but a dependable shooter, he's not that yet. Will he become that? I'm pretty confident he will, but I don't think the Knicks can take any chances. I think you have to bring in a dependable shooter. And if Grimes becomes that next season, you got two. But I don't think you can go into next season hoping Grimes takes the next step as far as being a dependable shooter. We know he can shoot it. We know he has games, and when he shot 50%, he's shot 40%. The last few games or 10 games going into the playoffs, he was shooting lights out. I get it. The playoffs are a different animal. And when I say dependable shooting, I mean in the playoffs, we can depend on you to make 38% of your shots. Is that too high, 38%? I know the average is what, 35, 36? I need a little bit more than average. 38%. I'm not even asking for sniper territory, 40 and 41. 38%. We need that. We got Brunson who likes to operate in the key. Randall who likes to operate in the key. RJ who likes to operate in the key. Those guys were able to get in the key and do their thing anyway without a lot of spacing. But it's just not going to work in the playoffs. Right? It just makes it easy for the opposing team to stack the box. So we need dependable three-point shooters and hopefully perimeter shooters. Hopefully RJ Barrett finds that. I mean, he's been great in this series other than the perimeter shooter. I don't see him as a three-point shooter. Other than year two, he just hasn't shot it well from the three-point line. I don't know if he ever will. Right? I don't know if he ever will. So we got to get the perimeter shooting. We got to get perimeter defenders. Now, Grimes is that. RJ was better in the playoffs. Is he going to get even better next season? We shall see. But we need perimeter defenders, particularly because Brunson is not a strong defender. He's just not. He's out there giving effort. He's trying. It's just not his thing. He needs to get better, though. Hopefully, I'm not sure how you work on that in the off season, but he needs to work on it. Navigating screens, getting over it, things like that. I don't think because of the offensive load that he has for this team, I don't expect him to be a lockdown defender on every possession. But there are spot possessions in the game where, yeah, I need you to turn it up a little bit. Right? So we're going to need better defenders around Jalen Brunson. And we're going to need ball handlers. I mean, come on, give me a break already. Grimes can't bring the ball up against pressure. I'm not talking to anybody can just dribble it up, but I mean against pressure. Grimes can't bring the ball up against pressure. RJ Barrett can't bring the ball up against pressure. Brunson has to bring the ball up every single time, and they're playing him at 94 feet, and there's nobody that can release the pressure. Come on. This is an NBA team. We out there looking like a high school team. You know how when you play a high school team and they got one good player and you playing the boxing ones and you're picking them up from 94 feet and you're putting all of your attention on them and you're just allowing the others to do it. That's how we looked last night. No. You got to have other players that can dribble the ball up the court. 2 more points, and that's all I'll have, and then I'll get into the chat, and whatever you guys want to talk about, we can talk about. So perimeter shooting, perimeter defenders, and ball handlers. That's what we need at that shooting guard and small forward position. And again, I'm not advocating trading Grimes and RJ. We just need that on this team, however they do it. I'm keeping Thibodeau, and I know there's a lot of fans that want to get rid of Thibodeau. Big picture, the Knicks were in the playoffs 2 out of the past 3 years. Without the most balanced roster, without consistent shooters, we were 2 games from the Eastern Conference Finals. Right? The Knicks don't make the playoffs next year, though. The Knicks get bounced in the first round. Thibodeau has to go. That's just how it is. This is how it works in the NBA. I figure if you got a good coach, keep the good coach. Go through the ups and downs. Spo is Spo because he was able to keep that job and get better year after year. At this point, decade after decade, right? If he was judged on just his first 3-4 years, is Spo still in the league? Because you're not going to tell me the Spo we're seeing now was the same Spo we saw in year 3, right? But that's just not how it works in the NBA. You know, you have a good season, like Nate McMillan took Atlanta to the Eastern Conference Finals, you get a contract extension. We're going to take the interim off your name. The next year, we in the play-in, you got to go. That's just how it is in the NBA. And that's the way it's going to be for Tibbs as well. We get back to the playoffs, we get back to the second round, he keeps his job. We don't make the playoffs, we get bounced in the first round, Thibodeau is out of here. Unless something, unless, I don't know, Brunson and Randall or whatever were out for a significant part of the season. That's just how it goes in the NBA. But I'm keeping Tibbs. I just don't think that's the change to make at this time. Let's do some twinkling with the roster. I still believe Tibbs is good enough to win in this league, but he has to have the players as well. I'm also keeping Randall. However, for me, the bar has lowered as far as moving on from him. I think before, I would trade him if a player was clearly better than him. A Giannis or, I don't know, somebody else you can name. Clearly better than him, I'm trading him. Now, you could be equal. If I look at your playoff performance and you're known as a playoff performer and you're equal to Randall, I don't think I would be adverse to making that move. He's talented. There's just no doubt about it. 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA player. There's nothing to sneeze at. But for me, it's playoff performer or bust. That's now with this team. We have to get players on this team that can perform in the playoffs. Now, I get it. It's a process, Give Grimes another year, give Quickly another year, give Randall another year. I get it. It's a process, and you could go that route as well. But another route is take off some of that uncertainty and bring in players who have performed in the playoffs, if you can. And I think the last thing I want to say is I'm more inclined to keep RJ Barrett. Before the playoffs, RJ Barrett, I want it going on the first thing smoking. Now, I think the bar is higher for moving him. I just still think that we just need perimeter shooting. And I'm not quite sure if RJ Barrett will ever be that. And I don't know if he would ever accept coming off the bench. I would love an RJ Barrett coming off the bench. Let's just imagine at the shooting guard and small forward position, we had dependable shooters and defenders. And then you had RJ Barrett, him getting to the basket, his floor game, him seeing people, playing solid defense, coming off the bench. That's a pretty good team. Because one thing about RJ Barrett, the lights aren't too bright for him. Maybe in game 6, though. But for the most part, lights are not too bright for him. Those are the players I want to keep. And maybe switch him around, put him in a different role. But those are the players I want to keep. All right. That's all I got. I'm going to check in with the chat, and then I'll tell you where you can find me next. I appreciate all of you guys rocking with me throughout this entire season, right? The first season of the morning show, 82 games. I might have did 76 shows or whatever it is. I appreciate y'all. Jeff Clafter, Jeremy Grant for Randall. This is a good point. Randall is a go-to player, And Jeremy Grant, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, is probably somebody that you got to create shots for. So if you're going to do that, you got to have somebody else on the team other than Brunson who you can go to, who can create their own shots. Right? You can't just have one. You got to have somebody else, right? So that's just a thought. Paris Duggar, Randall, and RJ are the same player in efficiency and quality and play. We can't afford to have them play at the same time going forward. Yeah, I can't argue with that, Paris Duggar. Tim Smith, Grant doesn't rebound. Yeah, let me tell you something. You need rebounds from your power forward. I had a fantasy team and I picked up PJ Washington. I picked up somebody else and I'm like, oh, come on. These guys can't rebound. You're a power forward. You're getting 4 or 5 rebounds. So I'm with you, Tim Smith. I need some rebounding from my power forward position. Nadrak 2002. I hope I got that right. Salute. If this is your first time, welcome. If it's your second time, welcome back. I'm giving up RJ and quickly for Jalen Brown. Yeah, I would too. Yeah. I not only that, I would give up. Thank you, Jeff. I would give up more than that. D Nice 77. Grimes is a bench guy. I agree. At this point. But as far as shooting, he was the best we had. So I mean, out of anybody who could have started, who else would you have started besides him? But I agree. He's a bench guy. I think the Knicks have to bring in a shooting guard. And listen, if next season Grimes, becomes that, it's just a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have. Tim Smith, Gary Trent Jr. is available. I like Gary Trent Jr. I don't think he has a lot of size, right? Well, is he 6'4"? Is he at least 6'4"? Somebody let me know. Sherwin, if you're in the chat, let me know. Keith Turner, RJ Barrett still might be gone on the first thing smoking. And we'll talk about this more when we do the recap shows on the Queen's Court and, the Just Nicking It show on this channel. Obviously we're going to do a deep dive into recapping the season, talking about free agency, talking about the draft. I'm not getting too deep into the draft. The Knicks may not have a pick, and even if they do, they may not keep it. But one of the things that the front office is going to have to decide, and I think it's a little bit of both, do we not make any major changes to our core? First, you got to identify who your core is. And do we just stick with this team for the most part and bank on internal growth? Or do we make a concerted effort to go out and get players to shore up areas that we know are weak? Right? I think that's what the front office is going to have to decide. And also keep in mind, sometimes a player becomes available that you didn't think would be available. And you might think you're 1 or 2 years away from getting a player like that. But if they become available, the time is now, right? And you gotta make that move. D977, Randall has been in the league long enough. Yeah, no doubt. Keep turning. If I see breaking news, Tibbs has been fired, I'm throwing a party. Be careful of what you wish for. You might get somebody else who's better in the places in which Tibbs is weak, and then weaker in the places in which Tibbs is strong. Yes. I want to keep Tibbs. I think he's good enough. I think he's listen. We were 2 games away from the Eastern Conference Finals. So why are you firing him? The team didn't show up. Players on the Knicks didn't show up. They didn't shoot well. Why are you firing him? It's not like the expectations was the Eastern Conference Finals and we didn't get there. We did the playoffs 2 out of the past 3 years. So what's your reason for firing him? Just list them. Let's be specific. What's your reason for firing Tibbs? You want a better offense? Okay. Even with a better offense, a more free-flowing offense, you still got to hit shots. What's the reason for firing Tibbs right now? There's no reason for firing. He doesn't have to be Spoelstra. You just got to be good enough to win. Tibbs is good enough to win with, in my opinion. Let's get some players around him. I think we'll be able to assess that better when we get a more balanced team around him. I think we can assess it better. Our talent aren't world beaters. I was scrapping and start over. All right, Keith Turner. So you're going from both ends, Keith, the coach and the talent. I hear you. Jeff Clafter, Tibbs is staying. Cheppy Logos, I hope I got that right. Tibbs is great. Some new people in the chat. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, some good things happening in this offseason. Brandon Ingram would be epic. I know, Jeff. But, Jeff, take a look at games played. I love Brandon Ingram. Absolutely love him. A healthy Brandon Ingram with a Randall and a Brunson. Come on. But he cannot stay healthy. Johnny Davis, I wish we had done more during free agency. We had the ball rolling with Brunson. Yeah, I don't think we knew. I don't know if the front office thought we would be 2 games from the Eastern Conference Finals this year. I don't know. RJ and Brunson scored all the fourth quarter points in game 5. Okay. Grimes is too soft and very injury prone. I would put him in a trade the first chance I get. Wow. Okay. JP, the price definitely went down on IQ and heart. So you think the Knicks should take a hard look at Gary Trent Jr. this summer? He's a free agent. I would. Now, I don't think we have the money. We would have to clear space. And I don't even think getting rid of Rose, because we're over the cap, I don't even think getting rid of Rose and Fournier, if we were able to do that, would open up enough cap space. But I do like Gary Trent Jr. Jeff, can we wait for Grimes to pop? Our window is now. Yeah. Like, for me, I don't even want to. I don't even think I want to get rid of these players, but I just want to move them down in the pecking order. But there's only so many spots in the rotation, right? So if you bring in 2 players, where are you playing them without reducing the minutes or actually taking players out of the rotation, right? I would like Grimes to be on this team coming off the bench. I would like to see IQ, Grimes, and RJ Barrett coming off the bench in that second unit. When you take in 2 players that started for you this season and you move them to the bench, that's a strong bench. What does that say about Josh Hart? I don't know. That's on the front office to figure out. I'm just telling you what I want. The front office has to figure it out. Sandy Artman, appreciate the super chat. Everything is on the table for the Knicks this offseason. Only person that is safe is Brunson. Well said. What do we think about that? Everything is on the table this offseason. What do we think about that? I'm inclined to agree with you. Yeah. Gail Barry, I appreciate you. Salute Queen. Playoffs show who the dogs and the cats are. Wolf or Mia. That's how I feel. That the playoffs is another. And you can rock in the playoffs. You can rock. Some don't want to trade Randall, but if we add shooters around Brunson, whose minutes are getting reduced? Tibbs is only playing 9, sometimes 8. Like, who was that said? Sandy Artman, D977. Everything is on the table in terms of minutes getting reduced. Like, I feel right now, nobody on this team is stopping me from doing anything that's going to improve the team. I'm not going to be like, oh, we can't bring that person in because that's going to reduce so-and-so minutes. And we know we really need them to get those minutes because we really, I believe that the Knicks window is now. The Knicks window is open. And it's a fine line because we have chemistry, though. So I don't know if you want to bring in 5 new players, right? We do have chemistry. That can set you back as well, right? But at the same time, I'm not for staying totally pat. So it's a fine line, and the Knicks front office is going to have to find what that fine line is. Maybe they can bring in somebody like Josh Hart, who came in and melded with the team seamlessly. The good thing is that it'll happen in the off season, so you'll have training camp to help. Right? They signed Brunson, as a free agent. Brunson was out in White Plains at the practice facility, practicing with the team, getting that flow in, playing 5-on-5. So, it's a fine line. I do agree. Hart was our second best player last night, and that's why we golfing. Yeah, Hart was exposed as a three-point shooter. Yeah, you're right. Randall was forced not to be a three-point shooter. They boxed him in when he put the ball on the floor. That they did. I don't agree. Josh isn't a starter. You put him with somebody better than RJ, we have a different conversation. I just think he's a role player. I just think if you're going to start in this league at the 2 or the 3 position, you got to be able to shoot the basketball. Especially now, I think you can get away with it if you got a shooting center. But we don't have a shooting center. So I just don't think you can have, or a scoring center. I just don't think you can have multiple players in your starting lineup who aren't dependable shooters, because RJ can shoot, right? But dependable shooters. We can upgrade, but Mitch was a huge reason we beat Cleveland. Yeah, he was. He was a monster, but I think everything is on the table. Everything is on the table except for Brunson. I think you could make the case we could try getting a different power forward, center, and a shooting guard, small forward. That makes me think we're more than one piece away. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes, though, depending on the piece you get, it can transform the other pieces. But yeah, you can make that argument. You can make that argument. Sandy Artman, appreciate the super chat. We needed offense. Fournier is a threat. And if you look, Fournier is a big game player. If Duncan Robinson got minutes, Fournier should have gotten burned. I can't argue. Calvin Whitaker, salute. Queen and panel, the Knicks had a successful season. Miami had the veteran experience. As far as playoff experience, we'll bounce back. Yeah, I think we will. Kevin Went, morning. I'm still in shock. For real. We took a few body blows last night. Boom, 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 boom. But it was still a successful season. Would like to see some moves happen. And I'm happy they didn't go out in front of our home crowd. Yeah, I thought that said a lot about the Knicks. Yeah, it did. Ken, appreciate you. I don't know, Ken, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Hopefully you're subscribed. Randall whole playoffs was awful. Not impactful at all. I would trade Randall for DeMar DeRozan in a heartbeat. That changes a lot of things, because that does give you another go-to player. And so if you got another go-to player that's not at the power forward spot, then that allows you, in my opinion, to have somebody at the power forward spot, Obi Toppin, Jeremy Grant, somebody that plays off of. I just think if you trade Randall, you got to trade him. It doesn't necessarily have to be for a power forward, but you got to trade him for somebody that you can go to, that you can run things through, not for another guy that needs to be set up. DeMar DeRozan is a little up there, but let me ask the chat. Are the Knicks, I know 2 seasons ago, I didn't, and I'm sure a lot of fans didn't want to go for older players because the Knicks just weren't there yet. The windows didn't match. Have we changed our opinion on that? Do we feel like the Knicks are there now, and so we can go for some older players like a DeRozan? Let me know your thoughts on that. Calvin Whitaker, salute. The Knicks had the difference was the veterans in Miami. And Miami have Kevin Love, who only played like 16, 18 minutes a game. Didn't shoot well. I think it was in game 5, 0 for 7, but hit a big 3-point. Timely shots. Sometimes it's not even. You could be just playing terrible all game, and you hit a big shot at a moment in which the team needs it. That counts for something. Sometimes you'll look at a stat, you'll be like, oh, that guy only had 6 points, but it was 3 daggers. That's what we needed last night. We needed some daggers. Diva Locks 21, Randall Hart seemed like he wasn't in it and he needed an attitude adjustment. I mean, I don't know about an attitude adjustment, but I'll tell you this. We talked about this, I want to say on the Just Nicking It show. Randall wasn't going after the officials. That's Randall. Maybe he said to himself, I can't really do that. And maybe that took something out of his game. Maybe he was too calm. There's some players that play better when they play on the edge. He was getting terrible calls, pushed around, fouled. They weren't being called. He didn't have anything to say to the refs. Maybe he was thinking, this is the playoffs. I got to stay under control. And maybe that took something from his game. I don't know. JJ, I think we can use an upgrade at center. Would be nice to have a center that can play 4 versus 5. I agree. And I appreciate what Mitch does defensively. But maybe we can find somebody else that can do the same thing and give us something offensively and can hit their free throws, even though Mitch knocked down 2 last night. Mitch is getting that Shaq reputation. I'm not a good free throw shooter, but when it counts, I'm going to knock it down. He did that last night as well. All right. Ricardo, Queen, we need shooters and everybody on the table except Brunson. We need ball handlers and a shooter. Terry Rozier, Cam Johnson, and Cat. Tibbs is a problem. His short rotations runs players into the ground. I mean, that's a good point. I think Josh Hart being in foul trouble was part of it. Rotations do get shorter in the playoffs, though. If we go with a 10-man rotation, that's less minutes for Quickly. If I'm okay with it, I'm okay with a 10-man rotation. But remember, our season turned around when we went to 9. In the playoffs, though, it was 7. In one game, it was essentially 6. So I definitely feel you on that. Sherman, name the center that can play defense like Mitch and Shue. We got to find somebody. I'm okay if they move on from Mitch. And I appreciate, because listen, it's net positive. Maybe you find somebody who's not as good defensively, but they're better offensively. And they give you rebounders, but maybe they're a little less of a defender. Maybe if we make changes along the rest of the roster, the starting unit, maybe we can make up defensively there. Maybe if we had better perimeter defenders, we wouldn't need Mitchell Robinson to be all world. So if we find a center like that, maybe that center is a net positive. Not as good as him defensively, but overall better. I just think it's something the Knicks need to look into. Don Rose Gallman, appreciate you. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, welcome back. I'm disappointed in Mitch, and I could take an L for him. Ricardo, name a center that's always hurt like Mitch. Okay. Johnny B might leave this summer. I'm okay with that. Sean Kearns, can Ayton be an answer and revive his career in New York? He's a max player, though. Mega NYK said, I'm firing everybody and trading most of the fan base. Oh, definitely hit the like button. We got 94 in here. I appreciate you guys. I don't have it up on YouTube, so I don't know how many likes are there, but if you can, please like. It does help the algorithm. Jamrock, Tibbs has plateaued as a coach. I hear you. Kevin Went, I wouldn't mind keeping Mitch, but have him come off the bench. Yeah. Pamela Willis, but this is Mitch first playoff. He just got a taste. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Nikki B from Harlem. Tibbs has improved the team for 3 out of 4 years. No way we can blame him. We overachieved. This is a very flawed roster. No doubt about it. Listen, where is Spo right now if the Knicks knock down more shots than Miami? What are we saying about Spoelstra? Sometimes, and I'm not taking anything away from Spo. He's one of the best coaches in the league, if not the best coach in the league. I still feel you don't have to be the best coach in the league to be good enough to win a championship. You don't have to be the best quarterback in the league. You just got to be good enough to win a Super Bowl. I think Tibbs is good enough to win with. We need that roster. We need these roster changes, though. And if we don't get into the playoffs next season, if we lose in the first round, he's gone. That's just how it works in the NBA. Okay. Jeff Clafter, but they took JP off the floor for 3 minutes. I know, like I was getting on, I was so upset. The chats that I'm in, during the game, I was texting Sim, Tony, Ajay, DopeSoulSports. I was like, yo, what is he doing? But can you argue with a coach for trying to give a player a blow who played 48 minutes just 2 days ago? I don't know. I was giving him the business, but it does tell you about this roster, though, because the team did. I mean, it was like we didn't know what the heck was going on. Jamrock, neither you nor Sim will acknowledge that Tibbs is a major part of the issue and needs to be replaced. Tibbs as a coach has plateaued. I disagree. Reasonable people disagree all the time, Jamrock. We don't have to think the same. We don't have to believe the same. We could agree to disagree. Okay. We talking IKBM, appreciate you. We talking about RJ, but not the 2-time All-NBA player. No showing. Yeah, no doubt about it. I expected more from Randall. And I loved what RJ's doing. I'm just saying going forward, I just feel we need perimeter shooting. If RJ can bring it, fine. But yeah, I don't think Randall was as impactful as he needed to be in this series. And, a good part of it was Miami. They had the luxury of having a player that can guard Randall. I don't think we did him any favors in the sets that we ran for him. I think we could have did better, getting him running downhill, mixing it up a little bit as opposed to isolating him on Bam, where I just don't think he has the advantage. So I definitely feel we could have done better in that regard. But that still doesn't explain your floor game, though. Even on the double teams, whip it faster. Like I don't know. Randall didn't look right to me. Sherwin, who can we get as a coach who is better than Tibbs? Right. I mean, I think people want to bring in somebody who's unproven, but might be. And I just don't think this is the time to do it for this type of team, to bring in an assistant coach who's been a long time assistant coach, but's never been a head coach. I just don't think this is the time. Ricardo, I think the fan base is acting like it's a given they'll be back to this position next season. You have injuries and players regress. Many teams fell flat the following season after a good one. Bingo, bango. I just hope it's not. That's why I feel like you taking a chance not making any changes. Remember, the GM for Atlanta, he's no longer there. I heard him on Sirius XM, the NBA channel, maybe last year, maybe sometime this year, saying that he brought back that Atlanta roster that went to the NBA Finals just to give them an opportunity to gel. And in hindsight, maybe he should have made some changes. It's a tough call. Do you stay with a team, let them incubate, bake, marinate, get better together? Or do you make changes? And I think you could do both. I don't think you need to make major changes, but you got to figure out who your core is. And the core can't be the entire rotation. The core can't be all 9 players. I say the core is about 4 or 5. I think I was talking to Freezy. He said, nah, your core is 2-3 players. You got to figure out who your core is. You got to figure out what you need. Because remember, you don't think Philly is going to try to get better this offseason? You don't think Boston is going to get better this offseason? You don't think Toronto is going to try to get better? You don't think Atlanta is going to try to get better? Stop thinking everybody is going to stay the same and all you got to do is incubate and grow. We got to get better. So I think we do have to make some change. Major changes? Depends on what that major change is. Hazansky Gaming, I hope I got that right. What are the chances Randall gets traded in the offseason? Rate from 1 to 100%. I think it's a 30% chance. I don't think he's getting traded this offseason. I think it's a 30% chance. But chat, let me know. Warren France, WFSN. Appreciate you rocking with us. If it's your first time, welcome. If it's not, welcome back. Hopefully you subscribe to the channel. Exactly. 3 exclamation points. It's never a given. Every team is going to see how open the East is and want a shot. Front office cannot be happy with this and settle on that. Yeah, you're right. Because Boston is beatable. Miami is beatable. Philly is beatable. You know? So you're right. Every team is going to be gauging how Ayton might be available. Booker might be. I doubt if Booker is available. But let's just say Booker is available and Booker goes to Toronto or Booker goes to Philly. Now the Knicks are behind. Right? So we'll see. If we trade Randall, we will not make the playoffs with this roster. Listen, I'm tired of getting to the playoffs and going home because Randall is not playing to the best of his abilities. Come on. If we trade, I mean, you're not trading him for a bag of peanuts. Hopefully, if you do decide to trade him, it's so that the team will be better. I would love to see the Knicks push for Jalen Brown. Celtics can't afford both, and Brown never looks happy. I don't know how we would get him, though. You think Boston is going to do a sign and trade with the Knicks in their own division? And if he gets to free agency, the Knicks would have to kind of do what they did with Brunson to try to clear out space to sign him as a free agent. I think that's going to be tough. Pamela Willis, with JB in place, I don't think we're going to have a big setback. We need that shooter to go along with JB and Randall. Yeah. No doubt about it. Juan B, Orlando, possibly a playing team next year. Yeah, no doubt about it. Knicks, I'm not signing Kuzma for 20 minutes. Is Kuzma a go-to guy or somebody that you have to set up? Nadrak 2002, I hope I got that right. I like Kenny Addison, but I think Tibbs earned his stay because we are progressing each year. I don't know if I like Atkinson for a playoff team. I think he's more developed. Well, at least that's the narrative on him, that he's more of a playoff coach. That might not be the case, though. Queen Bingo, you took it right out of my mouth. Atlanta Hawks is the perfect example of what I was talking about. Nixon Knight says he is a go-to guy. So if he's a go-to guy, you know, why are we assuming it has to be an assistant coach? Budenhauser or Nurse is a better coach than Tibbs? Maybe. One of the things I found with the NBA, it's not even whether you're a better coach or not. It's whether you're getting it done. If Budenhauser was so great, why is he out in Milwaukee? If Nick Nurse is so great, why is he out in Toronto? Why are they available if they're that great? And it's because it's not about whether you're a good coach or not. It's about results. I think Budenhauser, well, I don't know about Budenhauser, but I think Nick Nurse is a very good coach. He's out because he didn't get the results. Tibbs is in, whether you think he's a good coach or not. Why? Because of the results. If he doesn't get the results next year, he's out. This is what it's about in the NBA. It's not about whether you're a good coach or not. It's about results. Right now, Tibbs is getting the results. He'll be back. Nick Nurse didn't get the results. He's out. That's it. If Nick Nurse comes here, there's no guarantee if we still got this same uneven roster without shooters. I mean, come on. You can outcoach a roster for a year, but you're not going to be able to do it consistently. All right. Okay. Adding talent only masks Tibbs' deficiency. He is terrible with game time adjustments after timeouts, has no offensive pacing schemes other than ISO, doesn't hold accountable, and runs players down. Listen, you could say that about any other coach as well. You could say that about Golden State. Where would Curry be without his all NBA, all 75, Steph Curry? Where would he be? Where would Pop be without Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker? It happens all over the league where good players are masking coaches' deficiencies. Happens all over the league. Okay. Devon Fisher, I believe we're in a weird space direction-wise. If we make roster or coaching moves because the window has opened up, do we go young or vet route on players or coaching staff? Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right, I'm almost out of here. Appreciate you guys. Ricardo, appreciate the super chat. Players to stay away from: Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Kuzma, Beal, Lillard, Westbrook, Kuzma, Kyrie, Zion, all for different reasons. I don't think I can argue. He put Kuzma twice, so we got to stay away from Kuzma for sure. Yeah, I don't know if I can argue with it. I'm okay with Beal. I don't know what his money is though, because we're not asking him to come in and be the number one player on the team. We're asking him to come in and make shots. So I think the only issue I would have with Beal would be his health and how much money he's making. But I'm with you. I love Paul George, but the injury history is an issue for me. Anyway, that's all I have. Hopefully I didn't miss any super chats. If I did, my apologies. Where to find me? I will say, well, what's not here is Monday. I'll be on the Queen's Court on the Nothing But Knicks channel in my weekly spot. Thursday, 12 p.m. in the neighborhood with Freezy. That's a collaboration we have. It'll be on his channel this coming Thursday. And then Thursday night, I'll be back with the Jess Nick in the show. I appreciate all of you. Let me just give some shout outs before I am out of here. Sherwin, Knicks are nice. Keith Turner, Jeff Clafter, The Coolest 718, Lady and the Chef. I appreciate you. Sherwin, Hazansky Gaiman, Juan B, Warren France, WFSN, Ricardo, Keith Turner, Mac for a Better Tomorrow, Devon Fisher, Kevin Went, Jamrock, Keith Turner, Ajay, Jeff Clafter, Rick Pacone or Pacone, I appreciate you. IKBM, I appreciate you. Nadrak 2002, D-Nice 77, Jamrock, Pamela Willis, sis, I appreciate you. Always Sherwin. I might say some names twice because I forgot I said it. Dwayne Dennis, and I might miss some. Cheppy Logos, White Falcon 44, Tim Smith, who was in the building early. Knicks for Life. Sean Kearns, Mega NYK. I think Nikki B from Harlem, JJ. I think I got everybody. If I'm Wonder Woman, if I missed you, Dale Sinclair, Ribby RM, Sand the Art Man, I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the super chats. I appreciate all the super chats. It does help the channel. Kerry Cox. All right. Until next time, family, appreciate you.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's her.
shine. Dope soul,
Where you at? Where you at?
dope soul,
Where you at? Where